Okay, welcome everyone to our LinkedIn feedback session. I have my good friend, Bonnie Jean Van Ausdall today, and we're going to be going through her LinkedIn profile and giving some feedback on making sure that her profile is coming across with a focus on healthcare and mental health. And for her, she shared with me 3 words that she wanted to have as a focus for the profile. So empathetic, compassionate, and go-getter. And so I ask everybody these questions because we want to have a theme come across in the profile. So that's the perspective that I will be sharing as we go through this. So what I'm going to do is just go from top down and then just give you some tips, and you can take notes or you can go back to this recording and you can follow through on those. So the first thing that we look at is the profile picture, because that's going to be the first thing that people will land on. And so your profile picture is beautiful. You have a beautiful smile. The only thing that it makes me wonder is if there's something else in the background. So I would say that your profile picture is good, but if you happen to have one that is newer, that has a little bit of a clearer background where you're not kind of leaning to one side or the other, that might be a little bit better. But certainly if you don't have that, this one is perfectly fine. So that's one thing. The second thing I want to call out that you did really, really well, and this is something that most people don't do, but you did, is that you found a great image for your background cover. And so since the theme for you is wellness, I think this works perfectly well, because when I land on your profile, that's immediately what I see is this focus around wellness. And so are you happy with the background image that's on there right now? Do you like that, or is there anything you would want to change?
I still like it. Yeah, I do like it.
Okay, excellent. I think it's awesome. And that's exactly what I asked people to do. So you did a great job at that. So the next thing that we look at is the headline that's right underneath your name. And so what has happened for you in your LinkedIn profile is that it's defaulted to your current job title, which is what happens for most people. And so what I would suggest that you do, especially if you want to come across empathetic, compassionate, go-getter, if you're moving your career into the healthcare arena from finance, then this is a great opportunity to have either some keywords like wellness, mental health, healthcare, energetic, compassionate, go-getter leader. You can put that kind of thing in there. So that then if I'm a recruiter and I'm doing a keyword search and I type in leadership or leader and healthcare, then your name will pop up in my search. So that's a good thing. And it helps us to know a little bit more about you. I think that your example is fantastic, because I talk to a lot of people who want to pivot their career and they don't know how to do that on their LinkedIn profile. And that's exactly what you're giving everybody an example for. So that's outstanding. So then if we kind of scroll down from here, on the about section, actually, before I go there, let me check one thing. Okay, awesome. The other thing that I would suggest that you start plugging away and doing is to keep connecting with people. You have 196 connections, which is good, but the more that you have, the better. In fact, kind of the gold standard is to get to 500 if you can. And the reason for that is because when people do searches in LinkedIn, it's 3 degrees of separation. So if you have a smaller number that you're starting with, there's less searches that you would potentially show up in, versus having 500, 3 degrees of separation, you're gonna have a much bigger net that you can cast. So that might be something that you can be kind of clipping along with over time, is just adding connections as you go along. And then on the about section, so you have done a great job outlining, in fact, I would say great work outlining your about section. Most people, when I get to this part, they have very little or maybe a couple of sentences. But what you've done well is that you've focused on what I kind of call the recipe of the about section. Which is the first thing is that you have kind of a strong, powerful like point of view. And so what you've done is that you've described who you are, energetic and empowering wellness crusader. So I love that you use that word crusader. It's like strong. What you might want to consider doing is actually just to do a period after the word crusader, and then have a couple of spaces, like hit return, and then, I'm someone who passionately strives to bring wellness. And the only reason for that is because people, when they're looking at LinkedIn profiles, they're scanning. They're reading really quickly. And so if you use bolding, or if you separate out like one sentence on its own as opposed to a full paragraph, people are going to catch it much easier. And that's a powerful first statement that would catch my attention. What do you mean a wellness crusader? So then I'm going to want to read more, because I'll click that little read more button. And so then you're talking more about who you are, which is awesome. You're giving a bit of a background story about where you started out with a mission in this area of wellness. The only other thing that you could edit, because the words that you told me that you wanted to have come across were empathetic, compassionate, and go-getter. So right off the bat, I am not seeing the word I'm doing a quick scan while we're on the phone here, empathetic or compassionate. I would encourage you to add those words, like edit. Maybe you say, I'm an energetic and empathetic wellness crusader, or compassionate wellness crusader. So you've got those words that are kind of woven into this about section. And so that will be helpful. You've given a specific example of something that you did really well with organizing the charity event, which is outstanding. So then I kind of have a sense for some of the results that you could provide if we were to work together. And then you did talk towards the end of this when you said "get her done" is one of my personal mottos. So then that's the go-getter part that comes through. So I think that you actually did a great job. And then you've listed your skills down at the bottom. So overall, great job on the about section. I just suggest that you do another scan through if it's been a little while since you wrote this, and then just see if it's still accurate. If you want to incorporate the word empathetic, compassionate, or go-getter a little bit more in this, then you can certainly do that. So then after you make these edits that we're talking about in the LinkedIn profile, what I would suggest that you do is to make a note, like in your calendar, or a reminder to yourself, just to go into LinkedIn, maybe a couple times a week to begin with, and just start having some activity. Because every time that you like somebody else's post, or that you share somebody else's post, or even if you add your own picture or image that's a quote about mental health or wellness or something, you're going to show up in people's posts. So they're going to start seeing, oh, there's Bonnie Jean, there's Bonnie Jean, there's Bonnie Jean. And that's great, because you want to be top of mind. So when people are thinking about wellness and healthcare and they're wanting to reach out, then you might be one of the first ones that comes to mind. And so right now you don't have a lot of activity, but that would be something that you could change going forward once you make whatever edits that you want. And then in your experience section, this is one of the things where it is what it is. So you're in a different role right now, and you leave it that way. The only thing that you could potentially do in the description of your current role, like you're not going to change that, it is what it is. But what you could do is to weave some of the words that you said to me earlier, such as empathetic or compassionate. Like you could say, work with clients from a compassionate person, to bring out the best. Or you could definitely, the go-getter part would totally fit in here, known as a go-getter in being able to drive and accomplish numerous responsibilities or something. And so that can be a place where you're not really changing the fact that you're an AVP, because that is what it is, but you have the ability to weave these key words into your description as applicable for what you're doing even in your job right now. And then that might be the same thing as appropriate for your prior jobs. The only other thing that you can do is, if you have like a great accomplishment or a win, like, you know, realized X percentage of the business, or drove X percentage of efficiency, or managed X number of $1 million of the business portfolio, or things like that. If that's true, then you can add those as a bullet point, because it really calls out the level of leadership that you're currently doing in your role. And then people know, well, now that would translate into, if I were to hire her into a healthcare role, I know that that's the kind of person that she is. And so kind of the key thing when you're pivoting your career, like in your case from finance to healthcare, is that you just look for opportunities in the description where you could potentially incorporate some of these key wellness. Like even if you led a wellness or a volunteer event that was related to healthcare in some capacity, and even if that was a volunteer role that you took within your current job, you can call that kind of thing out, and that's great also. And then, so you have great descriptions, which is awesome. You've got your education, which is great. You actually, yeah, since you're still working on that one, I'd say go ahead and leave that. You don't have to have the dates, but you want to have if you're still working on your degrees, then you do want to list the dates in there so that people know that that's in progress. And then you've got your volunteer experience, which is fantastic. So this is a great opportunity if you've had additional volunteer, if there's anything that you've done potentially more recently than 2018 that might be in the healthcare space or mental wellness and things like that. If that's true, then you can definitely update and add those here so that I can see, even if you might not have been in the job there, that I can see that you've been really active in the wellness and in the healthcare and mental health space, just through other things that you might have done outside of work. And then as we roll down to the skills and endorsements, this is a place where you want to check and make sure that the 3 that are showing up on top are indeed the ones that you want. And so you've got health and wellness, project management, and event management. Are those the 3 that you want to be known for?
I'm sorry, I hesitated because I was like, well, kind of, but there's still, yeah, of all my jobs, those are the bigger pieces of them. One is the one I want to pivot to, and the other 2 are the most prevalent that I.
Okay, which is great. I mean, the real question here is that you look at these 3 skills that are listed and you ask yourself, are those the 3 I want to be known for? And if the answer to that is yes, then great, then don't do anything. And then you can start asking for endorsements. So people will start recommending you for these skills, which is great. For a lot of people, they don't even realize that certain skills end up listing, and they're like, oh no, you know, if I'm going into health and wellness, I don't want to have financial reporting showing up as one of my top skills. So since that's not the case for you, that's great. And then you've got recommendations. So you have one from me that was from a while ago. So you have a few from 2018, which is great. I would definitely encourage you to go back out and see if there is some colleagues or people that you might have volunteered with, particularly people that are in the healthcare wellness space, that to be able, especially like if you volunteered somewhere, then that might be a great place to get that endorsement that you worked with them, even if it wasn't on a paid capacity, but you have that healthcare recommendation kind of showing up. So that would be one. And if you're willing to reciprocate, most people are really happy to provide you a recommendation. And so that's just a little pro tip here. The only other section that I didn't see added here was the one that is called accomplishments. And so you can actually go to your profile and there's a little section there that allows you to add a new section. The accomplishments has things like major projects that you've done, or languages, or achievements, or patents, or awards, and all these other various kinds of categories under accomplishments. And so you can look at the different things that are there, and if those are applicable or any one of them are applicable, I definitely encourage you to add that, because that can be a great way of just showcasing the accomplishments that you've had. So we kind of cruised through. Great job overall. Do you have any questions before we close off?
No, I don't think so. I was just looking over my notes. Sorry. I don't think so. I've noted some things that I definitely need to change.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, you have a short list, so that's great. You've done a great job. So I want to just say thank you for being willing to have us record and share this with lots of other people that are thinking about pivoting their career. So thank you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing your updated profile.
Thanks.
All right.